It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. We know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the Clip Out.
Welcome to the Clip Out Podcast, episode 362. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe.
Hello.
Hi. Starting a little late.
We are.
I had work drama.
You had work gossip.
Well, it was drama that then turned into gossip.
That's true.
Getting the scoop on all the
Infighting.
yeah, the shenanigans among classic rock bands.
It was deep.
It was deep.
cut.
It was pretty fascinating.
I mean, I don't know if I'd use the word fascinating.
For me, it was.
Yes.
I love my classic rock.
Yes,
so
you do.
I was getting the inside scoop,
And
man.
that was like right straight from the horse's mouth.
Straight from the horse's mouth about, I don't think I should name the band, but
No,
a band that
please
is right
don't.
now in the middle of a very, very contentious lawsuit.
Yeah.
So, and so I was hearing one side's version of it.
You are so like giddy right now.
I wanted to be. We were sitting right here at the podcast table. I was like, turn on them fucking mics. I'm starting a new podcast.
The mics are hot.
Yes. He has no idea what he's in for. I got the scoop.
Forevermore, he'll be like, "Are you recording?"
Yes.
He'll never talk to another human being ever again. Oh, we will not do that to him.
No, we will not. So, let's do bingo calls.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So bingo number one this week is Ross Rayburn.
So get that before.
Before June.
But yeah, before they purge his classes.
They are not going to purge his classes anytime soon. You've got like a 3-year lead time.
I like
Please.
to scare people though.
I know, you get them all riled up.
It's great. It's so fun.
Yeah. You know what, though? At the same time, I kind of miss the days when everybody got riled up about everything. Like now people are so dead inside about everything. Now we get riled up about nothing.
They're just like, it's what it is.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it was better back in the day when people cared. Because like if you argue about everything, you also are passionate,
You have a passion
about everything.
For sure.
So there's a good and a bad side to it.
Well, we don't argue about everything.
No, we do not.
So are you saying we don't have passion?
No.
Okay.
No, I am definitely not saying that. Because when we do argue, it doesn't get like violent or anything.
No.
But we are very stubborn, both of us.
But we really don't.
We really don't.
Yeah.
Like every once in a while there'll be something and
Every
then like
once in a while you're wrong about something. not often.
and then there has to be like a cool down period.
And then you realize that I was right.
That is, you need to stop because see, it's going to happen right now.
So what, pray tell, do you have in store for people this week?
There's so much happening this week. I mean, this whole Sean Combs thing, right? And then there's global financing, and then Peloton teaming off with like 18 music bands and a new movie on the Peloton platform.
Yeah, what is that
about?
Uh-huh.
And then there's all kinds of stuff. There's new lawsuits we got to touch on.
Oh, okay.
And Angelo stops by and we talk about...
I remember him.
Yeah, well, we talk about how to find the balance of like calorie deficit plus just like you want to exercise, but then you want to have a calorie deficit, how to not eat back all the calories that you exercise. And then we have lots of instructor news. An amazing Peloton High article. I'm going to talk about it here just for a second because if you haven't read this article, the superlatives article that Nikki put together, you absolutely need to stop what you're doing and read it because it will make you smile.
People are loving it.
Yeah.
Instructors are sharing it.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's loving it. Plus, Echelon has a knockoff.
What?
The irony.
Yes.
The irony.
Oh, irony. Thy name is Echelon.
We'll get into all that. So.
Awesome. Well, before all that, shameless plugs. Don't forget, we are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, wherever you get a podcast, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. That is super helpful and greatly appreciated.
Yes, it is.
You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group. It's a great way to stay up to date on things throughout the week. Why are you bouncing along and with my cadence?
I'm picturing the little bouncing ball that's going with the words because I know the words because you say the same words.
Gotcha.
So I'm bouncing along.
Okay. And anyway, it's a great way to stay up to date on things throughout the week. Maybe talk to other people. It's nicer than the OPP.
Yeah.
Because if it's not, we kick them out.
Yeah,
which we did this week.
Yeah, we did.
So, also we have a Patreon, patreon.com/theclipout, where for $5 a month, you get all sorts of bonus content. And this week's is full.
It's chock
We have
full.
an update on Oliver Lee.
And Daniel McKenna.
Yeah, so
Lots of stuff going on.
Lots of stuff going on over there. And so you get a bonus episode every week. This is 20-25 minutes of extra content. So there's like a whole other show going on over there. You also, if we get the episode early, you get it early. And of course, you get the episodes ad-free. So if you want to swing by there, we'd love to have you. And you can also watch us on YouTube at youtube.com/theclipout. And finally, you can sign up for our newsletter where you get the links and just a reminder that we exist once a week in your inbox over at theclipout.com. So there's all that. Let's dig in, shall we?
We shall.
Peloton in the news.
So people have always struggled with, is it Puff Daddy? Is it, because he keeps changing? Is it P. Diddy?
Yeah.
Is it Diddy? And it's like, well, we finally figured out how to solve that. You get yourself arrested, and now you're just Sean Combs.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
They stop with all the cute names, and you're just Sean Combs. So Sean Combs had his music pulled from the Peloton platform.
I just want to clarify
mostly.
that they paused the use
Yeah.
of his music, and there will be no additional classes including his music, but they did pull the Bad Boy Entertainment Artist Series.
Gotcha.
Although apparently, as of yesterday anyway, there was still a class on lane break. Undetermined if that was just winding its way through the system,
Right.
or if they forgot about lane break. Undetermined.
So for people who are unaware, he has been
Ow.
he has been charged with multiple sexual assaults.
And he's admitted to it.
And well, he's admitted to the assault, the
yes.
physical assault.
Yes.
Once the video, he had denied it repeatedly and basically shamed people for spreading hurtful gossip. And then the video came out, and he's like, "Oh, that one,"
I'm so sorry.
and then apologized. And then the apologies really, I mean, these apologies are almost never good, but I guess he's contractually forbidden from saying her name in the agreement that the two of them had reached.
I see.
So, like, I'm sure that made it even harder to
craft
but yeah,
that sounded that he
but
meant
I mean,
it.
he's being investigated by the FBI. Like, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's been circling the drain.
Yeah.
But man, this whole deal where like he like paid off the hotel to
Yeah, like,
bury that tape.
That's the thing that I'm surprised we're not hearing more about. Is part of the reason that video has not surfaced previously is he purchased it from the hotel for $50,000. Now, I don't know what hotel that was, but my guess is it's probably a major chain.
Yeah,
right? Sean Combs isn't staying at a Motel 6.
Right.
So the fact that the hotel was willing to suppress that for a fee is pretty gross.
Yeah.
And people should be calling them to task for it.
Absolutely.
And they don't seem to be.
No, I agree with that. Also, not that I'm like, go watch domestic violence, but like the video was real bad.
I mean, real bad.
Real bad.
Like, yeah. And especially, like, it's not, like, there's not even
Yeah, be
a defense.
careful.
I know, like, there's not even a defense, like, they're in the middle of an argument, and she grabbed him, and he defended, and who did what.
No, you said it
Like,
perfectly the
yeah.
other day. These apologists who were like, you know, then women should leave their abusers. Well, she was trying.
Yeah, she's literally leaving the thing that everyone who makes who, like you said, who apologists for people who do things like this are like, well, the woman should leave. I'm like, bitch, she was leaving.
Literally on her way out the door.
When you wonder why women don't leave, it's because of this,
Yeah.
right? Like, this is what happens if you don't do it right.
Facts are that is the most dangerous time when you try to leave your abuser. That is the most dangerous time.
Yeah.
And you know what? I've really never talked about it, but I can say in my experience, that's freaking true.
Yeah.
Like, it's real scary. So yeah. And people, I also just want to say Peloton is not censoring. This is not censoring. They are removing their endorsement of him and sending money his way.
You used to go buy a CD.
Absolutely.
Ain't no
If
one
you want to
stopping you.
listen to his music, that is your prerogative. But like, there's a lot of people that are rightfully upset at putting their money towards a domestic abuser.
I think one of the bigger problems they're going to have with his music is that he produced so much music.
Yeah.
And
Collaborations out the wazoo.
And normally a producer is pretty much a no-name, right? To the general public. Like most people, if you say name a famous record producer, they would probably go Sean Combs, Phil Spector, I'm out, right? And so, but what do you do with like all of Biggie's songs?
I don't know.
What do you do with May's songs, right? Like,
there's a ton, and I mean, and then just all the collaborations that he appears on.
Yeah, it's a lot to disentangle.
It is, and I don't know where the line is.
And you end up, punishing
people that did nothing wrong.
Right. So like that, it's a tricky situation.
It really is.
So
yeah, but that happened. Ugh.
Yeah. So Peloton has done some global refinancing. I'll let you explain.
Oh, geez. Well, here's the thing. They
had with the NBA.
They had a big loan coming due this year. And they talked about the fact that they were going to refinance this. So this should be a surprise to absolutely no one. And they were kind of working with JP Morgan. They said that on the last earnings call.
I loved her on the Gong Show.
We reported it. But the thing, this gets very confusing because what they did, they're offering $275 million aggregate principal in the amount of convertible senior notes that are due in 2029.
Oh, well, it's about time.
In a private offering. So some people are able to buy those, right? And then they can enter into a $1 billion 5-year term loan facility. Why is facility in this word usage here? It doesn't make any sense. But anyway,
I haven't understood a word you said since global refinancing.
All right. Well, they're thinking what they're hoping is that people buy into some of these loans. JP Morgan is helping them, and this will allow them to have more runway of time to pay it back.
Gotcha.
This is very common in the corporate world to do this. But what's interesting to me is that yet again, Wall Street was like, ooh, bad. But here's why. Everyone thought they were going to get bought by a private equity firm.
Gotcha.
That this makes that more likely it will not happen.
This is kind of indicative of that's not occurring.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they're
But
upset.
then I'm confused why Wall Street ever thought that they were gonna, because they said that up front, we're refinancing, we're working with JP Morgan, and these people are on the call. So explain to me how it ever went up in the first place then.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
I don't know.
That's why I don't like any of these people.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
It's very confusing. So stock market hates it. It's probably good.
I mean, I think that it's good from the standpoint that it gives Peloton more time to pay it back.
There was a note coming due, and if they didn't do this, then they would have been in real trouble.
Right.
And so
it was this or get bought. I mean, it was this or get bought. And now it's this. And so the people that are unhappy about it are unhappy because it means Peloton most likely will not get bought.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if you were in team private equity, you are disappointed.
Gotcha. Let's talk about non-businessy things.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Odessa, I guess I'm saying that right.
We're going to go with it.
It's an EDM band.
We are not the demo for EDM.
I don't get it, man.
Nothing wrong with it. And I could certainly listen to it while I work out, but like to name a band, I'm not good at that. Like it's just.
I'm like Chainsmokers, Daft Punk.
Right.
Paul Karaoke. Steve Aoki.
No.
Not a guy?
No. I mean, you've gotten pieces of people, but you still haven't managed to put it together. But that's okay. Let's move on.
Well, ultimately, I'm proving my point.
Yes, you are.
I don't know.
Right. We got it.
So I guess they have a film coming out.
Yes, a concert film.
And you're going to be able to watch it on your Peloton device.
Yeah. So that's the big news here. There are going to be special Odessa classes. That's
Right.
the other piece of the news. And there's a couple of them. It's kind of like a mini artist series occurring in the middle of the week. But more importantly to me, it's the first time we've ever seen a film put on the platform. Just directly
Just a whole
on there.
movie.
Just whoop,
Here it is.
there you go. Like that's the news.
Yeah, like how is that going to be like a scenic class? Or
I
how
think
do you
it's whatever you want it to be.
Like, but where will it live?
In entertainment.
In entertainment. Okay.
I guess. I don't know. It's not there yet.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. I envisioned it under entertainment, but I don't know if there will be like metrics, that you can have along with it. Like when they did the Badwater thing for Susie.
Yeah.
They had they put it into a class format so that when you watched that documentary, you could take the class as you did it, and so you had your metrics from taking the class. Right?
Gotcha.
I'm unclear if that's this or if it's the same as it would be. It's kind of the same thing, I guess. If you were watching Netflix on the bike or on the tread, there's a way to get your metrics up on there. So I guess that's what this is.
Because I think this is going to be available for viewing or for purchase or rental on various streaming platforms like Amazon, Apple, Vudu. Sorry, Fandango at home. It'll always be Vudu to me.
It'll always be Vudu to me
it's
too.
Vudu in my heart.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, so does that mean if you have Peloton, you just get it for free?
Unknown, because it said in the release it would be on the Peloton platform. It didn't say you could access it through those other platforms.
Well, I saw another press release and it said like available on streaming platforms May 24th, which is the same day that this class comes out, right?
Yeah.
So,
but that wasn't my point. My point was that it didn't, the release does not say you can access it on the Peloton platform by using like Netflix.
Right.
Or Vudu.
Yeah.
It's just saying it's on the platform. Like they're acting like it's another.
Right. No, I agree. That's what I'm asking. That's like, so Peloton people just get it for free?
I don't know. That's what I'm telling you.
It's very confusing. We will find out on May 24th.
We will. So by the time people hear this, we will have already figured it out.
Yeah.
But I did think that was interesting. Also, you noticed, and so we included this in the article, that Odessa has been a staple of Peloton for a long time.
You've heard their music in lots of Peloton things.
Yeah, they used it in a Peloton commercial before. It was a cluster series back in All for One in 22. And most recently, they had the Webby award-winning story, Something is Everything, about Shanta May, and it was featured there as well.
Yeah.
So I just, even though we don't know who they are, I wanted people to know that it's not this just like random thing. This has been a strong member, like a collaboration for a long time.
And I think if you're an EDM person, this is a huge act. It's just, that's not our jam, so we don't know who it is. But but I do think that in that world, they're a big deal.
Yeah.
From my Googling,
I believe it.
They seem to matter.
Yeah.
So while we're speaking of Peloton and music, they have created a mindful music playlist that's available on Spotify.
They have. And you might as well just go to our website and get it there because it takes a while to find. It is not easy. Really. Yeah. I thought Nikki was going to kill me because she was like, where is this thing? She had to go on a whole hunt to find it. It was not an easy way to do it. So she said, this is what she said. Finding this gem of a playlist on Spotify can be a bit tricky. Trust us, we searched and searched and searched and searched. And currently the only way to find it is the only other way to find it is Peloton's Instagram story that will expire tomorrow. So we got you. It's on our website. It's there.
So if you find it, be sure and follow it so you can keep it.
Yeah. If you go through us, then we'll always have everything for you. And it's 4.5 hours of music. So It's not insubstantial.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely got a lot.
It's not as big as those playlists I build.
It's not.
That are like 49 hours or whatever.
Yeah, your yacht rock is.
Yeah, I got all sorts of ones.
Yeah, you do. My party list is also great.
Peloton was attempting to hit how many minutes?
20 million.
20 million minutes.
In 24 hours.
And then
they would donate to
Project Healthy Minds.
Yes.
And if they didn't hit them,
They would probably still donate.
Project Healthy Minds could go fuck themselves.
I'm pretty sure.
That was the deal.
Pretty sure they still would have
I
done
think
it.
they'd have been like, tough shit, Project Healthy Minds.
19,99999.
Eat a dick. Don't care. We're donating to Project Unhealthy Minds. We are actively working to destroy you if we don't hit 20 million minutes.
Luckily, we hit 20 million
Thank
minutes.
goodness for Project Healthy Minds that they hit 20 million minutes, because otherwise they would have created a nemesis.
I think that's pretty notable, though. In 24 hours, 20 million minutes.
What do they normally do?
I don't know.
That might be something they do every day.
It might.
That might just be a Tuesday.
It could.
We don't know.
But even if it is, I
It's a
still
lot.
think that's notable because
Yeah.
people talk about how Peloton is such a flash in the pan and it's so behind us. And it's like, really? Because
Yeah.
a lot of people are still using it.
Yeah.
That's a lot of minutes.
Absolutely.
So I still think it's worth noting, even if that is a Tuesday.
So you have noticed all sorts of like little things getting changed.
Yes. Yeah. I thought this was just interesting to note.
Yeah.
For example, there's like a bunch of different FAQs that Peloton has out there. And so one of the things they say is like, trying to find it. You can use your app on, let's say, all major browsers and the web. But now it says, instead of saying listed separately, it's web and TV, desktop browsers and Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, and Fire TV. And you can also use it on third-party equipment and the Bluetooth FTMS-enabled treadmills and rowers. Those two things have been added.
Okay.
So we knew that there was the capability, but it has officially been added to their FAQ,
Gotcha.
which I find interesting.
Okay, so now it's basically like probably out of beta or whatnot, and that they're
Exactly.
actually claiming it.
Yes, they are. And in fact, now they're saying that you can use Bluetooth-enabled devices with the Peloton app. So you can use Bluetooth-compatible headphones, heart rate monitors, fitness trackers, smart watches, anything, as long as you have a Peloton app plus membership. And then when you're using a third-party Bluetooth FTMS-enabled treadmill or rower, you can also connect to your equipment and track your workout. So I thought those two things were interesting. One last thing is that now they say that they are including real-time metrics from third-party devices. It's just interesting the language is changing.
Yeah.
I feel like there still could be more to come
Gotcha.
with this, but I find it fascinating.
Okay. Also, Peloton has put refurbished bikes on sale, bikes and bike pluses on sale.
Yeah, I'm not sure when this ends, but it popped up this week that it was going to be, there were 2 price points here that I have to go back and find because I texted
I believe it was
to you.
$9.95 for a bike and $15.95 for a bike plus.
It was.
Look at me.
Yeah, that's incredible. I had no idea you could remember things other than pop culture. I am impressed. I am very impressed. So yes, that is true. And so that's cool. Plus, we're going to talk about apparel later, but like everything's going to be on sale as we head into Memorial Day. So this weekend, I think we're just going to see sale.
Gotcha.
Sale.
Oh,
Buy the stuff.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, keep an eye out.
Peloton in court. Who's suing Peloton now?
Peloton is getting sued again,
Yeah.
this time for a bike collapsing.
This is so weird, though, because of the dates on this thing. This person, I mean, her name's in this article, allegedly, Yolanda Crawford.
No, she's really Yolanda Crawford.
She is allegedly suing Peloton and RXO Last Mile, the contractor that assembled and delivered her bike. Because it was delivered back on May 21st, 2021.
Right.
That's the confusing part.
I think that's how bogged down courts are.
3 years?
I mean, look how long it took for this last round with my ex-wife. It was like a year and a half.
Yeah. No, it was 2.
It was almost 2 full years.
Yeah.
For nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so I think
But it says she just filed it. It doesn't say that this has just been litigated.
Well, you know what? It might be they have all that language now about mediation. Maybe they went through mediation and they didn't like the result, and so now they're trying to sue.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Throwing it out there. But this doesn't sound like a Peloton problem ultimately. This sounds like an RXO problem if it's an actual problem, because according to the article, she started doing a ride and then her handlebars completely dropped. And then
I thought it was the
it is. And so her handlebars completely like collapsed, and then like she fixed that, and then her seat collapsed later, and then that threw her off the bike, and she like hit the wall or whatever, and which is not what instructors mean when they say hit the wall. No, like that's not, so there's some, maybe that's why she's suing Peloton. Robin Arzon told me to hit the wall. And I hit the wall. What? Suddenly I became Jerry Seinfeld. Robin Arzon said to hit the wall. But like that sounds to me like whoever assembled her bike did a piss poor job.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. But I will say it is, there has been like the whole recall because of the seats that had to be replaced on. Yeah. But that was only on Bike Pluses. So I'll also say that. Right. And it's kind of unclear what we got here. So sure, I don't know. She was able to get up off the floor and then went to the hospital for emergency treatment. Well, that's good. But she is saying in her suit that negligence on the part of Peloton and RXO.
Yeah, I mean, I get you're going to throw Peloton in that lawsuit because it's going to get you the headlines and they've got deeper pockets. And they're probably still would have some degree of responsibility because they contracted with RXO. But it definitely sounds like, just from this article, this really sounds like more of a setup issue than a bike issue.
The handlebars really head that direction. Yeah. They really do.
Which then makes you think they didn't do any of it right.
It's very possible. So, I mean, it's not the first time. I'm sure it won't be the last time. I mean, how many people have had their pedals fall off because
they threaded them the wrong way?
That's right. Yeah. And even you know that.
Even I know that.
Exactly.
And so coming up after this, well, if you're a Patreon subscriber, just more show. But for the rest of you, coming up after this, we will talk to Angelo about struggling to find balance with calorie deficits. So stick around.
Clip out.
Joining us once again via the magic of ZoomTube, it's Angelo from MetPro here to answer all of your fitness and nutrition questions. Hey, how's it going?
Hello.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Well, we appreciate you being here and giving some help to our listeners. Irina is struggling while she works to work out while in a deficit. She struggles to find the balance, fueling her body for workouts and then not eating back all the calories. So I knew you were going to need additional information. I asked some questions. She does do morning cardio. She does a 45 to 60 minute run or ride every day. And she has fruit and coffee before that. And then she has breakfast right after that. And then she also has a lunch and dinner. She did not give me times on that. So she's eating basically 3 times a day. With a snack in the morning before. She also said that she does a 20 to 30 minute strength in the evenings 4 times a week. She said that she gets so hungry after these runs or a really tough strength session, and that's why it's hard not to eat the calories back.
Man, A+ on getting that information.
Thank you.
This is great. So now I can hopefully give Irene or Irina, a little bit more actionable information. So first of all, congrats, Irina. You're doing great. You have a really good routine here that sounds very healthy. So that is exactly, you described the challenge of being in a deficit and training. You just described the sport of physique training. That's physique sports because they're going through cutting, bulking, stripping cycles. And that is the challenge to make that all work. So you can't deplete your body too far. That doesn't work for anyone. That works for 24 hours and then you crash and burn. But there are definitely things you can do. Now, what I'm going to tell you now is an extreme example, but the principle will apply. So I had a client who was actually prepping for a fitness competition, and she wanted to get her body fat percentage really low. But when she would eat the intake that was keeping her stage ready, she would be ravenously hungry and just not have the energy to really get through her workouts. And that's why, unfortunately, at the extreme end of things, you see competitors supplementing with a lot of energy supplements, over caffeinating, things like that, because they're trying to make up for not getting enough actual food fuel in them. So what we did for her was, while we did have to increase her intake a little, we were able to keep her closer to her stricter calorie intake and threshold by timing her calories and her meals in such a way that she had the fuel when she was using it. And in 99% of the cases, here's simply what that means. I can make it really simple for you. You don't have to go to, do a bunch of calculating on when you're exercising, and that's all good, but it's simpler than that. You need more of your calories earlier in the day. So this particular competitor did phenomenal. She ate 6 times, but in order to be able to do everything that she was doing, her last meal of the day was at 5:30. So think about that. That means she was eating as soon as she woke up, then she was eating a couple snacks before lunch, then another snack and dinner. And so she was getting all of that in, where the majority of her calories she had gotten by 1 o'clock. Because, and this is the repeat after me saying, calories you have not yet consumed can't help you, which is why you have an American epidemic of people who are at the gym exhausted, even though they're over caloried. Because they're eating those calories at night when they're sitting in the recliner watching TV via, junk food or whatever those extra calories are, at a time that it is not going to help them. They're just getting ready to go to bed. So you're doing morning cardio. I understand why you're doing the fruit and coffee there. Try and add just a little bit more, perhaps even a protein shake or something light to go with the fruit. Have that breakfast and make that breakfast substantial, and then have lunch early. And then what you might try doing is having your next meal early as well, maybe even a late afternoon dinner if your schedule permits. And then in the evening, that's when you could do just a lighter snack. And what you may find is that may not completely solve it, but it will alleviate a lot of the troubles that you're having by getting more of your calories in earlier in the day. Finally, I'll leave you with an example of a client that I had. We tried everything to get him to lose weight, and he was very determined, very consistent with his nutrition, but he had an unusual appetite. I've dieted thousands and thousands of people. This guy had a legit appetite. He would train twice a day. He would train first thing in the morning, and then he would train again at night. As soon as we moved his second training session to mid-afternoon, right after lunch, he was able to control the appetite. We were able to get him to lose the weight. That's not always the answer, but it was for him. So the timing of your calories matter. I'm hoping that helps a little bit, Irina. And of course, this is the type of stuff that we love helping people detail. Feel free at any point, you can reach out to us or any of our professionals to help take a closer look at these details to make sure you're getting exactly what you need for the results you want.
Awesome. And if people want to reach out and talk to you or Crystal about some strategic eating strategies, this is why you guys do this. And not
we
me.
do this. Yeah, we actually do this. We don't play one on TV.
Yeah, and I don't do this, though, just to be, don't want anybody worried. Where can they find you guys?
MetPro.co/TCO.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Instructors in the news.
Robin Arzon and Benny Adami are doing a Hyrox race.
Yeah, and separately, 2 separate races.
I was hoping they were racing each other.
Well, they live in 2 different countries.
I don't care.
So it's a little tough to do that.
They got planes.
They do.
They got lots of frequent flyer miles.
They do. You're right. I mean, it is possible.
Yeah. I'm sick of their excuses.
Okay. Well, apparently Okay, but anyway, so I didn't know about this, but it's a race that's similar. It's like sort of kind of like CrossFit.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. It was like, this is like, you know how Oreos have Hyrox, CrossFit has Hyrox.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like CrossFit, but then kind of not. And then they turn it all into a race.
Yeah.
So the participants run 1 kilometer and then they do 1 functional workout station. And then they do that 8 times. They keep repeating that 8 times. So the races are hosted indoors in these big exhibition halls. So here it would be like down at the big dome thing, you know, where they have all
like at a convention center or an arena, an empty arena.
Yeah. And so then that means that it's like super immersive and it's like really intense because everybody's going really fast and everybody's right there together. And then
you can watch the whole race. Like your friend, it's not like a marathon. You're just like, they will run by you and you're like, well, I guess we're done for 26 miles. Right?
Yeah.
Like you can view the whole thing.
Well, some people go to different support stations, but that's okay.
Is that a
yeah,
thing?
we've talked about this already on the show, as a matter of fact.
I don't listen to that.
Or me, apparently. But the format is consistent. So even though Benny and Robin may not be in the same ones, they will be doing the same.
Compare.
They could.
Oh.
And it enables global leaderboards because of that, and a cumulative world championship at the end of each race season. So we just, at the Clip Out, found it fascinating that Robin is posting about it on her stories.
Yeah.
Benny's posting about it on his stories. I just can't help but wonder if something's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what, don't know when, but it just feels like there could be a thing.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to just go work out.
Right.
You know? But to be posting about it just feels like there could be potentially something Peloton related coming.
Okay. We shall see.
We shall. But even if it's not, I can't wait to see how they do.
Yeah.
And be able to compare their results. That'll be pretty cool.
So Tunde was in a car accident.
Yeah, she was in a car accident yesterday. She is okay.
That's good.
Today is Wednesday. She did cancel her classes this morning.
That's fair.
Absolutely. But she is okay. She was fine and she will be back. But just wanted to send our well wishes out to Tunde. That's scary. I know.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And in the video that she put out, she looked great. Like she didn't, what I mean by that was, unlike when I got hit by a car and you could.
Yes, you could tell.
Yeah. You could not tell by visually that she had been hit by a car. So I took that as a really good sign.
Like, hit by a car? She was in another car?
She was in another car.
That was hit. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Like a traditional car accident.
Right.
Yes. 2 cars. Well, I don't actually know if it was 2 cars.
Could have been a car and a truck.
Could have been a single car. I don't know.
Yes.
But
she was not struck by a vehicle.
She was not.
Right.
No. I didn't mean to draw that comparison. I was just saying that, like, she looked amazing. I looked like dog do. Like, you would have never known she got hit by a car. I look like somebody beat the shit out of me.
Yes. It was bad. I couldn't go out in public with you for a long time.
I know.
Because I got dirty looks.
You were afraid.
I'm like,
you were like, I didn't do it.
I'm not that guy.
Yeah. No,
I'm not Sean Combs.
You are not. Thank goodness.
Susie Chan has a book event coming up at PSL.
She does. Yeah. June 6th is going to be the celebration of the launch of her book. It's called Trails and Tribulations, The Running Adventures of Susie Chan. And not only do you get to get the book, because it's signed, by the way, if you're lucky enough to go, but also there is a pre-event reception and you get a chance to meet the community. You also get a Q&A with Susie. It's going to be hosted by a special guest that has not been named yet. And then you also get to do a meet and greet with her as well.
Cool.
A photo op, basically. Yeah. So that's very cool.
Jermaine Johnson participated in Knife Awareness Week.
I didn't know this was a thing.
Well, it's because in America,
it's not a thing.
We don't have to worry about knives because we all have guns.
Oh, that's fair.
And so in England or the UK, guns aren't legal, so there really aren't any guns of a significant number. So the criminal element uses knives.
Okay.
And so, like when you first sent this to me, I was staring at it like when you make a weird noise in front of a puppy.
Yeah, and they tilt your head.
I was just like, Knife Crime Awareness Week. I'm like, and then I was like, what a uniquely American reaction. I'm just like, but you can shoot people. Why would you get a knife? Why would you use a knife when you have all these guns laying around? They just issue them to you. And so, yeah, I was like, and I don't mean to make light of this. Like, if you were stabbed, that's awful.
Oh, for
I have
sure.
no doubt. But I'm like, as an American, I'm sitting here.
That's the funny part that you're making fun of.
That I'm just like, the idea of being worried about knives instead of guns just sounds positively quaint.
Yeah, it does. And you know, I wouldn't mind going back to those days.
Yeah, like you don't hear a lot of school mass stabbings.
And it has sadly happened.
It has, but
yes,
they're
far fewer.
And the toll is a lot lower than a shooting typically. So but that's great that like.
I thought it was nice that he took the time to go talk to a boys' school and talk to them about, like, you know, for the lack of better phrase, staying on the straight and narrow, making good choices. And I thought that was cool.
And I will say with a knife, like, you know, that's going to be an unregulated tool, right? Mm-hmm. Like, at least there's some barrier to entry for getting a gun, theoretically. But for a knife, there isn't any. So, like, yeah, if you're a young street tough, like, you can just go buy a knife anywhere,
or
right?
Get one out of your kitchen.
Yeah, so like, you know, there's nothing to really stop someone. So I'm sure a lot of it is just trying to convince kids to not even pick up the knife and have it at the ready when they find themselves getting mad at somebody. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I love learning new things, and I did not know this was a thing, and it's a whole week in the UK, so that's great. And then also, just, I think it's cool that he did that.
Absolutely. Jon Hosking got the boot. I can't believe the story isn't stacked higher in the show.
Oh, my God.
Why would they do that?
No.
He's so popular. People love him. He seems like a nice guy.
All of which are true.
Yeah.
But he didn't get the boot. He got a boot.
Oh.
Yeah. You might remember a while back that he had to exit the London Marathon, right?
Of course I do.
Right. Well, he had an ankle injury that had occurred because he had been running a lot more miles as he was getting ready to do the marathon. And then, but he kept doing classes. And I'm not saying that's why. What I do know is that it does not appear to be healing on its own naturally. So he's got to put it in the boot, and we got to immobilize it to get it back to where it should be.
And for our British listeners, we should say it's an actual boot.
Yeah.
He did not put his ankle in the trunk of a car.
Yeah, that's a great point.
We want them to know that. And for our Canadian listeners, he did not put his leg in an about.
No.
I don't know what that would be.
I don't either.
But
we didn't.
But
he didn't, and we didn't.
Right. We are not saying, they were like, and about what? About what? I don't understand what you're saying, American podcast talkers. So, just trying to keep it and for our German listeners.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't know. I don't have a German equivalent here.
Yeah, but speaking of German listeners, I do want to say I got an email, and I never emailed back, but like, it's been sticking in my to-do list. You know, I keep in my mental to-do list that I want to answer.
It never ends.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a CVS receipt.
Somebody asked, what the hell is the OPP that you keep talking about?
Yeah.
Fair question.
Yeah.
So the OPP, German listeners, is the official Peloton page found on Facebook. Now, anybody in the world can join that, but it is all in English, and it's meant for it's like it's based in America. There is also like a Facebook group that is for Germany. There's a Facebook group for the UK riders, for the Australia riders, but this first one is like inclusive of everyone. And so we call it the OPP because it used to just be the official Peloton page,
right?
Back in the day, and back when it had far less people on it.
Yes.
And now it is a complete shit show where you say one thing like, oh, the moon came out today, and then you will be mocked for it mercilessly for hours.
Precisely.
Why people ever post on there, I do not know.
Yes, if for our German listeners and our UK listeners, if you go to the OPP, you will be like, yep, that's America. That's what they're like.
Well, if they think we're rude, yeah.
You'll be like,
we will not be shattering any stereotypes on that page.
We will not assuage you of that notion.
No. Good luck to Jon. Back to his booth.
Yes. Helper B. Nikki put together quite the popular article this week.
She did. And I have to say, she masterfully did the cover art as well.
The cover art's pretty sweet.
It is. I was very impressed with everything about this article, but it's graduation season and she wanted to celebrate. So I have to say it's really tough to pick my favorite.
Right.
One of the ones that stood out to me was Best Bromance because she had Hosking and Ben, Hosking and Maddie, Hosking and Eric, Hosking and Cliff, Hosking and anybody? I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
He gets along with everyone so well. And also my other favorite, I think, is the low-key thirst traps that she talks about how Adrian Williams and Eric Yeager are both like low-key thirst traps because they post all these pictures where they're like half naked and doing workouts and they look amazing, but they act like they don't know that they have all the women like, whoo, and men who are into men, whatever your gender, you can appreciate. So lots of funny stuff there. And last one that I will mention is the greatest celebrity look-alike. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Dennis Martin, Jason Bateman. They're like the same person.
Okay.
They really are. So Nikki had a ball with this, but we had more of a ball reading it, and the instructors have been getting a kick out of it. They love it. So,
well, if you want to check that out yourself, you can find it in the newsletter that will go out this week. You can also find it over at theclipout.com. And coming up after this, we're going to tell you about the next artist series featuring someone we actually know and an Echelon knockoff.
What
the hell you say?
Peloton artist collaboration.
An artist series of someone I know.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't know the Stones, right?
I mean, I would think even millennials are going to know the Rolling Stones, right?
Yeah. I mean, they probably know it as like the background of meme music or something, but they know it. There's probably memes of like Mick Jagger.
Somebody used Satisfaction in a TikTok.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But they know them. And that's the point.
But that's a big one.
It is, and it's huge. They're going to have 14 different classes.
There should be.
And there's going to be 2 of them in Spanish, 3 in German. They're all taking place on the 23rd. So by the time you hear this, they will be up and out on the platform. So that's really cool. I saw something for everybody. So walking, running, flowing, all the things. Rowing.
Well, I'm glad they're doing a bunch because there should be a bunch. And I say that as someone who, as much as I love my classic rock, I don't really like the Stones.
I know. We actually talked about this not very long ago because we had seen it was coming up as an artist series, so we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
And still agree with that for sure. That it's not really my thing, but they have such a huge breadth of music that if you're going to have it, you really can't do justice with like a class.
Yeah, they put out so many important and relevant songs for like a 25 or 30 year stretch that it's like, you can't do 2 classes and call it a day.
You cannot. And did you know that they are only doing this tour is only going to be in 16 cities? Did you know that?
Yeah, that's pretty common for them these days.
Is it?
They go out in the summer, they'll play like stadiums and because they're big enough to where people will travel, so they kind of drop them in different regions and then they just go out and they do those shows and that's it.
Well, they say that they're going to be playing deep cuts and tracks also from their new album, Hackney Diamonds.
Oh, so they don't want to sell tickets.
I mean, they're going to play the hits too.
Yeah, because that's a band. They have so many hits. And
you want to hear the hits.
Even when they play the hits, they can play 15 hits, and they're going to leave at least another 15 on the table. You know? So to put in deep cuts and stuff, I'm just like, They did a tour a while back that I thought was really cool. They would go to a town and they would do 3 shows, and they would do a stadium show, and then they would do like a theater show, and then they would do like a club show, and at the club show, I mean, it was all deep cuts.
Now that makes sense to me.
Yeah, and so like one, it was really hard to get into the club show, obviously, but you weren't gonna miss Sympathy for the Devil or Honky Tonk Woman
or Satisfaction.
You know, like they were gonna play nothing but like this is stuff for the diehards, and I was like, oh, that's really clever.
That is. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And maybe they figured they've been around so long that, like, if you wanted to go to a concert, you had plenty of time.
That is true.
And,
You've had
that, like,
60 years at this point.
Right?
Yeah.
So they're like, we're going to play what we want to play.
Checking out the competition.
Oh,
so,
I'm already chuckling.
Yeah. So this was spotted by one of our listeners, Naomi Wynn. I think I'm saying that right.
I think so.
And she posted an image of an Echelon studio in Dublin.
Yeah.
And we're doubling over with laughter.
We sure are. I mean, so... It's not Echelon, and you can tell because it's not the right color.
Right.
Because it would be red.
Yeah.
It would be copying off Peloton if it were Echelon.
Yeah.
It's white, so...
It'd be like a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox.
Exactly. But, people who do pay attention to Echelon indicated
Both
that
of them.
They felt, pretty much, they felt like that there was some copyright issues here. And I'm just like... Oh, the irony.
Yes.
Are you kidding me? Like, Echelon should just never be allowed to sue anybody for copying anything.
No,
That's
they
like
should not.
they do their whole that is their entire business model.
Yeah.
What is somebody else doing? We should do that.
Yeah.
So I find it hilarious, and I just can't get enough of that.
Yeah, that's pretty hysterical.
Oh, the irony.
And also, I'm like, who's going to that?
People in Dublin,
I guess.
I mean, to them, it's probably just a cycling
It's just
studio.
another cycling
it's
studio.
just a
They don't
cycling
care.
studio.
Yeah.
Like that's it. You know.
Do you think they picked the name by accident? Like,
I have no idea.
Do they maybe not sell Echelons in Ireland?
I think that's possible. I think it is very possible, and I think that it could just be an honest to God accident.
Well, there was a store in St. Louis, remember, that was calling themselves Peloton.
I do. We had a lot to do with that store no longer being here.
Yeah. Well, we were just like, hey, Peloton, is this you?
Yeah.
And they were like,
no.
No.
But
they will be hearing from our attorney.
We will be making some phone calls.
Yeah.
Because I was like, hit the brakes, record scratch.
Before there were Peloton stores everywhere.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. And I was like, this is not right. This is definitely not Peloton.
Yeah.
But everything about it said it was. Like, that was real suspect, as the kids say. Very sus.
Yes.
New content.
Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.
Was that supposed to be a drum roll?
No. That was, don't you forget about bingo.
Oh, I just thought your drum rolls were getting that bad.
I mean, apparently they're just always that bad, so.
So, bingo call it. Do it.
Bex Gentry.
There we go.
All right.
Okay. So now let's talk TCO top 5.
All right.
So every week we ask you what your favorite class of the week was. You tell us, and then we tell everybody. The first one is favorite Peloton walk.
Okay, a favorite Peloton walk was a 2-for-1 this week. It was the 30-minute one it was 30 minutes long, but it was for the 20 million minutes walk plus run. So it's really confusing as a title.
Yes.
Okay. And the 2-for-1 was with Adrian Williams and Alex Toussaint. And they were together. Sarah Lester said it was even better seeing that she was definitely faster than the professional athletes in the room. And Jessica Sanford said that it was so freaking good. Apparently, so Tina took this class too. Mm-hmm. And she said there were people professional athletes literally hanging onto the side and walking at 1.5 miles per hour. So you just need to take the class just to see that. You'll feel good about your form.
For
feel
sure.
good about how fast you are.
Yeah.
And remember, they're professional athletes. So
that's how I feel like when if I'm hanging out with Joel Hodgson and I say something that makes him laugh.
It is.
Or if he like clicks laugh on one of my Facebook posts.
You just get giddy.
And I'm just like, oh, he liked my joke. So now you know how I feel.
I know. I've been there. I've seen it.
Number 2, favorite Peloton strength class.
This took place on May 10th. It was arms and shoulder strength, 10 minutes with Rebecca Kennedy. Kim Harden Battle said this class is a bicep killer. And she said, don't be fooled by Rebecca's recommendation, use light weights. You'll find that after 12 different movements in 10 minutes, your arms are still going to be screaming to stop. It does not matter.
Number 3, favorite Peloton Power Zone ride.
Okay, so this took place on April 17th. And it was a 45-minute endurance ride with Hannah Frankson. Laura McGinty said that she loved this ride. She said she had never taken a class with Hannah and she loved her and loved the playlist too. It had Give It To Me by featuring Timbaland, Justin Timberlake, and Nelly Furtado. And then there was Snoop Dogg, Still Dre with Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, and Like This by Mims. So also the intervals were entirely in zone 2 and 3.
Okay. 4, favorite Peloton class modality.
Yeah. So Nikki Bowles-Talicki, I hope that I am saying her name correctly.
That's a fun name to say.
It is.
Nikki Talicki?
I have actually, in my head, I've nicknamed her. She's actually Nikki Ticky Tavy in my head.
I thought it was Tavi.
Well, whatever. At any rate, I can't get that one right either.
Yeah.
But I loved that she suggested this because I take these classes all the time. And she said, like, just take a Just Walk. Like, she did one and she did it while she was listening to an audio book. But she loved it because it was a walk and she got Peloton credit.
Yeah.
I mean, you could listen to a podcast too. I'm just saying. But either way, I do this all the time. And I find it super helpful because if I want to go do a class, and like I'll do a strength class on the tonal and I turn on a just strength, if you will, I still get my credit for it. I like that because I can see all my minutes I work out. Otherwise, it's too divided. So I'm really glad she brought this up. I think that's very smart to do. And
if you're a glutton for punishment, your favorite unstackable.
All right. Our unstackable is a 30-minute medal ride with Charlotte Weidenbach. It took place on Sunday, 5/12. And I know this will not shock you, but Billy Lenore loved it.
What?
He used multiple exclamation points in his review, and he said it was super hard. The playlist was epic. We finally got a sleep token song. This was the hardest class for me, metal class for him, since the days of JJ. And the difficulty rating did come in at 8.3 out of 10. So that's not saying nothing.
Okay. And now let's take a look at what's coming up this week at Peloton. You got Mental Health Awareness Month.
We do, yeah. And a lot of these classes are kind of circling around that. So there's a class that is a 30-minute body appreciation ride that's led by Leanne Hainsby. There's also several different, I kind of skipped by the top. Sorry about that. There's a lot of mental health awareness classes this week, period, that are taking place. Jermaine Johnson, Anna Greenberg, Kendall, Ash Pryor. There's a whole bunch out there. So you can click on the collection so you can find all of those classes in one place. And then there is a new yin yoga series. It's called Creating Space. We talked a little bit about this last week. It is going to be led by Kira Michelle. And then she has guest instructors. So this week there's a new episode with Kirsten Ferguson.
Okay.
And then there's new meditation badges. So new challenges.
And there's also new yoga challenges too, right?
Yes, there are. So you can take either yoga or meditation. If you take like 15 of these workouts, you get a gold. You take 10, you get a silver, and 5, you get bronze. And that's for meditation and yoga. So glad to see that those badges came back in not just 1 month. They will be repeating apparently. So.
Awesome.
They're not only in May, we are going to be seeing them in June. That's the other highlight here, that those challenges are continuing not just in May, but going into June. There's another new challenge coming up.
Gotcha.
I don't think you caught that part.
I did not.
And they say June at the top. So I just wanted to point that out.
In case you missed it.
Lululemon has released its Pride collection.
It has, yeah. I thought it was interesting because it does not appear to be Peloton.
Yeah.
It's just
Lululemon.
Just Lulu. And Cody was posting about it for obvious reasons.
He's a Lululemon ambassador.
He is. And a proponent of the Pride. And
makes sense.
It does. Absolutely. But I also wanted to mention that a bunch of new stuff also dropped that was Lululemon, but not Pride, in the Peloton apparel store. So lots of Lululemon everywhere.
Peloton birthdays.
So we should start by backing up. I missed Ash Pryor last week in the birthday. So she had a birthday on May 20th. So if you reach out to her belatedly, feel free to blame that on Crystal.
No, because I posted about it on the correct day. So that's just on you, my friend.
But you can still blame it on Crystal.
You can. I don't really care.
Our little secret.
I don't think Ash Pryor really even knows who I am. So
she's got a better chance of knowing you than me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And then coming up on May 29th, it is Jess King's birthday.
So happy birthday to Ash and Jess.
And coming up after this, we're going to talk to our guest of the week. We met this gentleman when we were in
Catalina Island.
Catalina, there we go. Doing the Arthur the Dog thing.
Yeah.
So his name is Jose Quintero, and he's coming up after this, so stick around.
A lot of fun.
Checking in with the Peloton community.
Joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Jose Quintero. Hey, Jose, how's it going?
Hi.
Woo! What's up, you guys? I'm really honored to be a part of your podcast, so I'm excited to be here.
Well, we'll fix that.
We are honored to have you here. I have to share with our audience that we actually met when we did that crazy experience at Catalina Island. That was insane for Arthur the King. So we bonded over, of course, Peloton. Because I was like, hey, wait a second, you do Peloton? And then we had questions. And so
literally. That's exactly how I felt when we started talking. I think how the conversation started, and it's funny that you mentioned that about Peloton, because the conversation started because I saw your watch, and I think you have a Whoop.
I do, yes.
Yes, and I had an Apple Watch at the time, and then you're like, oh, it's because I like the analytics because I have a Peloton, and I'm like, I have a Peloton Thread. You have a Peloton bike. I ended up getting the Garmin, but I don't know if I should transition into the Whoop because I do love outdoor running as well, so I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very personal decision, as you know, and I've got both because I'm a huge nerd.
I was thinking that too.
But
God gave you two wrists for a reason.
Exactly. Okay, but see, I really like having the Whoop on one wrist because when I sleep, it has all of the analytics all the time. When I have the Apple Watch, like sometimes because you have to charge it so often, there are times that I would lose those analytics while I was sleeping because I'd have to charge the Apple Watch overnight. So I like both, but I also like both because I feel like Whoop gives super in-depth analytics about your recovery. I will say, though, when it comes to the actual tracking of distance, I feel like Garmin is the best. Like, that is the best. So, yeah.
So far, I've had my Garmin for about a month, and I absolutely love it. Love long distance. I don't know how accurate it is on a treadmill, but I think that's okay. So
I agree.
When I go outside, I absolutely am enamored by it.
That's fantastic. I'm glad you're happy with your wearables at the moment.
Yes.
So I always like to start these interviews by kind of going back and finding out exactly when you found Peloton and how you decided it would be good to integrate into your typical routine.
So my first experience with Peloton was obviously the Peloton bike. You hear the advertisements and whatnot, and you think that's pretty interesting, but they're not necessarily at a gym. And it always takes, I think, that one friend or person, and that because I think I was in college when they came out, and at the time they were pretty pricey for a college student and even a recent grad. But I had older friends who graduated beforehand. So when they started, getting their own places, one of the things that they started implementing was, I wouldn't necessarily say like a home gym, but like little specks of it. Then it kind of became a bigger thing during the pandemic. But one of my friends, Caesar, he had a Peloton bike and he's like, you have to try it. And I'm like, biking isn't really for me. Like, I'm more of a runner. I like weightlifting. And he's like, no, just try it out. And he kind of like started pushing it on me, and to a certain extent I was just like, I don't know. After the second, third time that I went to his house, because he lived in LA and I work in LA, and I was just at his house, and he was working because I got out early, and he's like, just give it a try. You haven't gone to the gym. It won't hurt you. And I'm like, okay, fine. I did, I think, a 20-minute class, and oh my gosh, I was like hooked. I was like, I can't believe my heart rate is so elevated. I can't believe my thighs are burning. I can't believe people do this for fun.
You're like, does Peloton make a shower?
Yeah. So then when I started building my own home gym here at my home, I was like, okay, I have a treadmill, but I need one that lasts a long time. I love distance running. I love running outside, but sometimes I love just coming home. And one of my guilty pleasures after like a long day is watching TV. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to incorporate fitness and TV all into one. So I put a giant TV in front of my treadmill, and I started running but sometimes the treadmills would wear so fast that I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pull the trigger. I'm going to buy the thread. I don't care what people say because, how much is it? I don't care. It's an investment. I love my health. So I bought the thread, and, I haven't looked back, and I've had it for about a year, almost 2 years.
Wow.
I think that's something that people, as they age, start to figure out that, like, sometimes you're better off to buy something that's a little more expensive because it's going to last longer and you don't have to replace it as frequently. So, yes, maybe you could have gotten a tread for $800, but you might buy 3 of those treads over the course of 4 years instead of one tread or Tread Plus that lasts for, you've had your Tread Plus now for
2018. I've had my Tread Plus. Wow. So, I love it so much.
She uses it a lot.
I do. And recently, so the Tread Plus was recalled during the pandemic. So probably when you were purchasing, it wasn't even on the market. You could only get the Tread. And whenever recently they replaced the rear guard so that things can't be pulled underneath the Tread Plus. And when the guy came out to fix it, I was like, explain to me exactly what you were doing to this thing, because this is like gold to me. It is please, you cannot screw it up. I need to understand exactly what you're doing. So he was so nice, and he showed me exactly what he was going to do. And it was fine. And he did not hurt my tread at all.
I know, it's like another child.
It is. Yeah. Very expensive child. Although children are expensive too, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, but it is definitely an investment, and it is something that I use every single day, and my family uses it as well. Because I live with my brother, so it's just the 3 of us in the household. So they literally do the same. They watch TV and they turn on the tread, and sometimes we'll do a class, or sometimes we'll just do normal, the normal setting.
So since you like to watch TV while you use your tread, did you start using the new device that they have baked in now where you can watch
entertainment feature? The
entertainment feature where you can watch YouTube and Netflix and whatnot directly on the tread screen, or do you still use the big TV?
They do that?
Oh, I'm blowing his mind. I blew his mind. He's like, interview over.
He's like, hold on, I'll be right back.
Yes.
So tell me why that was one of the biggest things that when I first purchased it 2 years ago, I was like, how do I get Netflix on here? Because, or something, or YouTube of that sort. And I remember I was like on Reddit, and they said like, oh, you can like hijack the system, go to the internet browser, and then do it that way. And I'm like, that is too complicated. Let me just set up a TV.
Yeah.
But now there's like an entertainment tab on there, and there's lots. Not every platform is baked in, but like more and more every day.
So now, when you're looking at your interface, right, and along the very bottom, there's it has different options. Like you could go do a just run, for example. It's at the very bottom. So down there, it'll either say more, or it'll say entertainment. They recently updated the tab to say entertainment. And when you click on that tab, a whole selection of third-party streaming comes up. So if you're if, for instance, you're a person who likes sports, they have a whole basketball thing too that you can watch the big championship games right in there.
Wow.
And the only downside to any of that is that you have to log into those third-party streaming apps each time, which
it doesn't come with free memberships to all of them, right? You still have to have your own membership to that to each respective platform.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, that's interesting, and I'm going to definitely try that out. One thing that I do love about Peloton, though, and aside from just the treadmill, is because I have the membership, I've gone to hotels like in Chicago and whatnot, and they have Pelotons there, like bikes, and you could just log in with your user information. And I'm like, oh, okay. It still like kind of integrates it. So, cause I'm still like learning a lot of the things that it has. And one time I did a trip to Mexico. And obviously they don't have Pelotons over there. Well, they didn't at that specific hotel. But I was just like, well, I have the Peloton app, and it has a series of workouts there.
Yep.
So I was just like, look at me learning that there's not just running.
That's right. There's running and biking, and you could do Pilates and yoga, and you could do.
I'm just curious. So the app will work in other countries. Do you still get like the music and stuff in Mexico?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know like how licensing would work for that.
Yes, I've
know,
taken classes there.
Did you?
Thanks for paying attention.
Well, I was probably asleep. Or
Yeah, you probably
drunk.
were.
I might have been.
I'm like,
might not have
is
been
your
drunk.
wife.
Yeah. Well, it's her time, and I don't like to intrude upon her time. But I just know that, like, when we tried to log into Netflix in Mexico,
That's true. That's true.
We had like 3 shows.
Yeah,
and they were all from France.
Yeah,
Make that make sense.
That was weird. But yeah, Peloton doesn't do that. You can. So far, who knows? Things could change.
Right.
But at the moment, you can use it wherever you are if you have the app. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I love to see it expand and grow, because when Peloton bike was just a thing, they always say like representation is huge, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously as a Latino, I'm like, okay, I love the instructors there. And just recently, about a year ago, pause. 4 years ago, I took a cycling class in LA, and the instructor was a girl named Camila. And now she's one of the instructors on Peloton.
Oh my God, that's crazy. You took a class with her before she was a Peloton instructor?
Yes.
Oh, that's crazy. Awesome. So, okay. So, like, give us the dirt. Was she different as an instructor then than she is now?
She's still intense. She's a sweetheart. She's amazing. When I first met her, because a friend took me, because I work in entertainment. I work for radio, right? So that's, it was in Santa Monica, and my friend's like, hey, let's take a cycling class. I have an extra like membership that you can go to, and it was a free class. And I'm like, all right, cool. And I want you to meet my friend Camila. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Obviously, as she was the instructor, she was intense. She was like, let's go, you guys. And all Latin music based, right? So she's kept that essence. And I loved seeing her grow into this Peloton monster, because she is like a badass woman on there. And every time I go there, I'm like, that is still the same Camila I met 4 years ago.
That's awesome.
I bet most of them are probably pretty the same. I envision becoming a Peloton instructor is kind of like joining the WWE. And
why?
What? Like these wrestlers, they work. You don't just show up one day and you work at the WWE. There are other wrestling places out there, right? And you kind of develop your shtick and your character, and then the WWE sees you and likes you and brings you on board and says, okay, but now do that for us. And so I think Peloton instructors are probably similar in that regard, that they see you kind of have to establish your persona, and then once they like your persona, then they bring you on board, and then they say, but just do that here.
Well, that's a really good explanation, because I literally thought, I'm like, oh my God, a recruitment with a coming out song and all this other stuff. I'm like, I don't know if they're acting. They seem pretty serious when they scream at me.
Are we talking about the wrestlers or the instructors? I don't even know anymore.
Yeah.
So does that mean that you still take bike classes like along to supplement your running, or is it just the running that you do?
I take bike classes here and there. Obviously when I'm at hotels, I'll definitely get on the Peloton, just because I feel like I'm comfortable, and I would like to keep analytics for myself and see how much I've been improving. But yes, my day-to-day activities and what I use probably 9 out of the 10 times would be the Peloton thread.
Okay. And so when you are spending all this time running, like, are you training for specific events, or do you just love to run and it doesn't matter?
So for the longest, I was training for like a marathon and whatnot. After the marathon back in 2020, literally it was March 17th or something like that, the LA Marathon, and then the world shut down. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to do it. Awesome.
They really snuck that in under the wire, because the 13th, that Friday the 13th, is kind of when everybody figured out it was real and had a reaction collectively.
Like,
so
the classes and everything shut down here that day. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
I got the bug, and I'm like, you know what? I want to find a form of cardio. I want to become this like hybrid athlete where I love strength training, but I also need to improve my cardiovascular endurance and heart, just because for longevity purposes. And so many people like, I kind of view you weird, where you're just like, oh my God, you like running? And I'm like, well, yeah, but I also like living. So.
So you mentioned that you like strength training, so I feel like we should probably see if you're aware of Tonal.
Tonal?
Yes.
Don't tell me this is another Peloton thing.
No, it's worse, because it's not a Peloton thing, so there's more money attached to it.
It is, yeah.
But there's a device we actually have another podcast for Tonal, and Tonal is kind of like Peloton, but for strength training. And so it's like a TV that kind of hangs sideways on your wall. You see it, and you're going to think it's like a cable machine, like Bowflex.
Yes,
and
yes. I have seen it.
You're going to be like, that's dumb, and it's not dumb. It's and it uses electromagnetic weights to replicate the resistance of various pounds. And
so you don't have all these weights laying around.
Yeah, and it remembers like how many pounds you lifted for a bicep curl last time, and then every once in a while, since it's digital, it can go up like in 1 pound increments. So like, instead of having to decide like, oh, I've been at 30, can I handle 35? It'll just be like, no, but you can handle 31. Dink. And and it just does it. And
it's really cool.
It's pretty spiffy. It's like having a personal trainer.
It is.
I've seen it like on my Instagram ads and whatnot, and I always think that's pretty cool. I've never personally met anybody who's had one besides the people on the ads. And I'm like, can I message them? Can you send me one? I will be your test subject for our demographic. You know? But that's awesome. I didn't even know, like, it like keeps all those analytics and it literally tells you, hey, this is how much you're pulling. You should probably do more, which is awesome. I have during the pandemic as well. Obviously, I have my master's in marketing. I do radio, whatnot, but I got bored. I've always loved science. And I said, I'm going to get my personal training certification and nutritional certification. And that is one of the things that I've always talked about with people who I worked with, progressive overload. So for some like machine or equipment to do that for you and to encourage progressive overload is great, just because as we get older, osteoporosis is a huge thing within our community, especially the Latino and African American community, because if we don't have strong bones, then we're going to, slip and fall. And that's why you have older people breaking bones. But you need to increase that bone density. And how do you increase that bone density? Well, with strength training.
Yes. I did the same thing. Once I found Peloton, I got super sucked into the nerdy analytical side of all the data. And so I got my personal training certificate, my nutrition certificate. I had the same kind of like, I want to learn more. I want to learn all of the things. So I'm curious then, do you have like squat rack and all those kinds of things in your house? Like you have your own setup, and how it like, so what kind of different like workouts do you do? You said you run pretty much every day. So how do you incorporate the weights in with that?
So the way my split is at right now, I do have, a squat rack. I do have dumbbells. So what I do is Mondays, I train legs. So, and then, legs. And then Tuesdays, I train chest, shoulders, and back. Wednesdays, I do cardio. And so I run every single day, 2 miles. And then Wednesdays, I'll do longer runs, which is about 5 miles, and abs. And then Thursdays, I'll do legs again. And then Fridays, I'll do biceps, shoulders, and chest. And then Saturdays are my long runs. For example, like today, I went out and I did a 10-mile run.
Nice.
Yeah.
So are you training for a marathon right now?
I want to say I am, but I haven't signed up for one.
You haven't picked it.
You know,
You're
like,
pre-planning.
It's like dating. I'm willing to, but I haven't picked one yet.
yeah.
He hasn't found the right marathon yet.
I just need to sign up for one. It's sort of like when I just want them to be like, wow, you're so lucky you can run all that. And I'm like, no. Opportunity came and I was prepared for it.
That's right. That's right. That's a good way to do it. And you also mentioned that you have a radio background, you have a podcast. So tell us about your podcast.
Yeah, so my podcast is called Echelon Podcast. So Echelon means to keep going, right? That's a very specific word in the Latin community. So it's echándole ganas. So how to keep going in life one episode at a time. So I have distinct topics that I feel like within our community we need to talk more about, whether it be fitness, whether it be finance, whether it be storytelling, just because I feel like historically storytelling was a huge part within any indigenous, Latino, or any community in the world. So it's just storytelling to me brings healing. And I just love getting to know people and their story, because somebody in the world is probably going to identify. And if that I can be that beacon of, helping people transition into like, okay, if that person could do it, I could do it, then why not?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. I love that inspiration.
Is it in Spanish or English or just back and forth?
It's bilingual. So sometimes the episodes are in English, sometimes the episodes are in Spanish. A lot of my demographic is here in Los Angeles, so the duality is very present. Mm-hmm. But then again, I do have a lot of audience in Latin America. So sometimes when I do English content, they're like, but we want to know what they're saying in Spanish. And I'm like, well, let me find an expert who can do it in Spanish, and then I'll interview them. For example, I'm trying to get a doctor. She's in New York. She did a really amazing podcast about Ozempic, right? Because she's triple board certified in weight loss, endocrinologist, and IMO. I have no idea what that is, but I remembered it just because it was a really cool acronym. But I reached out to her and I'm like, your podcast was amazing. Can we do it in Spanish? Because she brought a really good perspective on Ozempic usage. And before I was very much like, oh my God, work out, grab yourself a Peloton and run. But then she did mention it. She's like, in the podcast, you do understand that the World Health Organization has classified obesity as, as a chronic disease. So why not treat it as such,
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how the whole world is going through this conversation right now about Ozempic and how it impacts people. And there are such polarizing feelings around it,
You see that a lot with weight loss stuff where people are like, well, I'm just concerned about your health. Oh, I found this thing that'll help me lose weight. Oh, not like that, though.
Only like this.
Right.
Exactly. And it's so funny because I see so many artists kind of like doing it. Like we saw Oprah. I don't want to say it, but she's been very vocal about it. I don't want to say like Kelly Clarkson has done it, but I don't think people should be ostracized for using it as an alternative. Because at the end of the day, like if it's motivating you to continuously work out and can feel better, because at the end of the day, like we should be able to feel better, and motivating us to eat better, probably work out. And one of the things that the doctor was saying, like you don't understand, people who are on like weight loss GLP-1 injections, they tend to lose a lot of muscle mass. So you have to supplement that with strength training. So right there, you're already changing their mind shift and having this paradigm shift into a fitness lifestyle. So, and they're already seeing the results, so they're a lot more motivated, as opposed to somebody who gets like a gastric sleeve. You are recovering and then you see the results. This is a slow transition, and psychologically, it'll help you in the long run. I was just so into it. I was like, oh my God, now I want to talk to you.
So is that difficult to find experts who also are fluent in Spanish?
At times it is, especially like, I don't think necessarily like medicine, just the specific medicine, but maybe like finance.
Right.
I love talking about, financial literacy, and that is easier to talk about because even though my first language is Spanish, the language that I practice the most, if it weren't because I work at a Spanish radio station, my Spanish would probably not be where it's at right now. But I mainly practice English. So it's easier for me to read information and regurgitate that information in English versus trying to figure out the terminology also in Spanish and finding an expert. That is probably the difficult part.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, you know, I've taken so many years of Spanish, like in high school and college, and like I've done the Duolingo. So like I know I can read Spanish not badly. Like I'm fairly decent with it, you know. But like if I hear it, I can understand a lot. But then unless people are talking quickly, then I lose track. Yeah. But as far as like trying to speak it or trying to speak it, my brain is trying to translate it, and it's so slow at translating it that I cannot do it. And I feel like so in awe of people that speak multiple languages because you're able to do it it looks so effortless, you know, and my brain is like, can't compute, don't know how, like I don't know what to do.
Yeah, like I can never get my brain to stop treating it like a puzzle, right? And so like I'm like you said, I'm trying to translate it instead of just like I don't think about English when I'm saying it, right? Like that's the word I want to use, and it's the word that comes out of my mouth. Like it's fluid, right? But but when I'm dealing with a foreign language, even one that I studied a lot, like in high school I took Spanish and stuff, and in college as well, but yeah, like none of it stuck.
No, so I'm always amazed, and the fact that you can, like I said, it looks effortless the way that like you can
code switching.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. That's amazing. And
it's hard because like working in Spanish radio, like I'm working alongside people who were born in Mexico, right? So then, so they literally know their Spanish. So sometimes I'll say something, but I'm thinking about it in English and it's automatically translating it, but the conjugation comes out wrong. And I'm like, oh man, but luckily they correct me. And I always say, do it because it helps me learn.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I remember, so I took Spanish in high school, and then when I went to college, I took Spanish again because I already knew it, right? Like, or
that's why I made that choice too.
Knew it.
Also, it felt pretty helpful in America. Like I feel like that's,
for sure.
There's just a lot of people.
Yeah,
that
that's the foreign language you're most likely to run into, right? And so I remember the first day of Spanish in college, the teacher comes in and she's like, how many people took Spanish in high school? Almost everybody raised a hand. So she goes around and she gives everybody something to read, and she's like, I just want to see how good you are at reading Spanish and out loud, and so like just read these 2 sentences. And so we're all going through reading it, and then she gets to me and she stops and she's like, where did you learn to speak Spanish? And I was like, I went to like a Catholic high school, like, you know, like 10 minutes from the college. And she's like, because you speak Spanish with a Cuban accent. And I was like, oh, yeah, my Spanish teacher was a Cuban refugee. They owned a hardware store and Castro took it over, and she used to tell stories about loading machine guns onto trucks when she was 10. And like, I'm like, my Spanish teacher was Cuban. She was just like, what is going on with your Spanish?
I always find that interesting. When people who aren't native Spanish speakers, when they learn Spanish, they pick up the accent.
Right.
They were learning from. For your case, it was Cuban. You know, I met so many friends who weren't native speakers, but they picked up Puerto Rican accents, Spaniard accents, Mexican, and I'm like, wow, how awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sure it sounds odd to your ear because you expect it to sound one way, and then you have this American speaking in another accent that you are not expecting. Yeah. But I guess when you're learning a language, you're just learning by what you're hearing.
You just what's ever in front of you, and that's the right way to say it. And so you know, when she would correct our pronunciation, then she was probably steering us more and more into a Cuban style of pronunciation. So I just always thought that was funny.
Yeah, definitely.
So do you have a preferred instructor?
A preferred Camila. Yeah.
Makes sense. You never forget your first.
No. I feel like if she were to listen to this, she'd hate me if I didn't choose her. She'd be like, you knew me before Peloton and you can't claim me after Peloton? Like, what is wrong with you?
It's like when you see a band at a club and then they end up playing arenas.
Yeah.
And you're like, I talked to them at the merch booth after they opened for
Yeah.
Counting Crows.
Yeah, people these days would knock you out to get a selfie with Camila, and you probably have them. And
Yeah, actually, I don't, which is, I think what makes me a little bit more mad. I'm like, I had the opportunity, but then again, you just never know. Like, you're just hanging out with obviously she's really good friends with one of my coworkers at the time, and so we're just hanging out. You never expect people to blow up, and which is great. I'm so happy for her. Will she probably remember me? Probably not, or maybe. But because we've had interactions even on social media, right? When like I used to go to her classes. But yeah, I'm still going to choose her because she, there's something about Latin women that reminds you of your mom that when they're screaming at you, it means business.
You take that seriously.
Yeah.
Would you like to hear a worse story about a missed selfie opportunity?
Oh, I know this one.
This is ugly. This is bad. So when I worked in radio in the 90s, I worked in an alt rock station, and there was an artist coming in, and he had one hit. It had just kind of came out, and it was like this sort of novelty rap rock song. And they're like, "Oh, he's coming in tonight. Do you want to stay and get your picture taken?" And I was like, "Nah, I think I'm good. I'm just gonna go home. I don't want to wait that long." And that's the time that I didn't get my picture taken with Eminem.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Now, so here's a chair on that Sunday. He had tagging along with him in the studio that night, unbeknownst to us, Dr. Dre. So I also didn't get my picture taken with Dr. Dre.
Like Tom, the one time you should have stayed at work.
If it makes you feel any
like
better.
At that time, like that gives you bragging rights till this day.
Right. But I will say, if it makes you feel better, I do have a picture with Marcy's playground.
Oh,
So,
well, then you definitely made up for that.
That's true. I think there was one, because we have 4 radio stations in our building.
Cluster,
and one of them is a rock station. But I remember one person, because I've always hate being that person that I'm like, oh, I want to take a picture. You always want to be nonchalant because they're humans too and whatnot.
Right.
But when Bon Jovi came to the studio,
hell yeah.
I was all like, I need a picture. I don't want it. I need it.
My advice to you is don't feel bad, especially if you're at a radio station. They are there to work, and that's
they
part of the job.
expect it.
It's not like you walked up to them while they're standing in the line at Starbucks and were like, "Can I get a picture?"
That's true.
Like,
Was he nice when you asked him? Was he nice?
He was.
Okay.
He was.
Shoo. I'd be upset if he wasn't.
Yeah.
I'd be a little crushed.
I don't think we've had a really bad person that came in.
One time I was at one of Tom's concerts because he books concerts locally, and they had playing that night a lot of different bands, but one of them was Nate Roos from Fun, and I was so excited because I love their song so much, and I was like, oh my god, because he did that duet with Pink, and Pink is one of my all-time favorite singers, and so I went back there. I was so excited, and the dude did not even smile. He was just like,
he's like, mm-hmm. And it was like an official radio station's meet and greet. It's not like we just crashed.
I was crushed. I was crushed. I was like, oh, you are not fun, sir. You are not fun.
Oh, you named the band that ironically, when a bald guy is called Curly. I get it.
You take the N out of fun, so F you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's no you in fun. I'll tell you that. So, what is your leaderboard name?
It's Jose Quintero TV. So it's literally, I was lucky enough that all my social media platforms and even Peloton stuff, I just put it across the same.
That's
branding
good.
Got
to keep the branding. Yep.
Very important. Yes.
Yeah.
So
there's my master's in marketing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
Well, Jose, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we let you go, just again, remind everybody where they can find you in all the places, or your podcast, listen to your stations. I'm sure they stream online.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff.
Yeah. So you guys can find me on any social media platform as Jose Quintero TV. So it's my first and last name, just TV. And then my podcast is Echelon Podcast, and you can listen to the radio station Cali 93.9. If you're in Los Angeles or anywhere in SoCal, it's 93.9, or you can download the app Cali 93.9.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No, thank you guys.
So I guess that brings this episode to a close. Until next week, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Crystal D. O'Keefe. They can find me on the socials and the Peloton leaderboard at Clip Out Crystal.
And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at facebook.com/The Clip Out. While you're there, like the page, join the group. Don't forget our Patreon, where for $5 a month, you'll get bonus content, which we're going to go record right now. We're not going to go anywhere. We're going to sit in the same chairs.
Right here.
But and then you also get ad-free episodes and all that. So anyway, that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, keep pedaling.
And running.
And rowing.
Bye.